The average person grows up in a family where he has never met or known anyone who was wealthy. He goes to school and socializes with people who are not wealthy. He works with people who are not wealthy. He has a social circle outside of work who are not wealthy. He has no role models who are wealthy. If this has happened to you throughout your younger years, up to the age of 20, you can grow up and become a fully mature adult in our society, and it may never occur to you that it's just as possible for you to become wealthy as for anyone else. This is why people who grow up in homes where their parents are wealthy are much more likely to become wealthy as adults than people who grew up in homes where their parents are not. So the first reason why people don't become wealthy is it never occurs to them that it is possible for them. And of course, if it never occurs to them, then they never take any of the steps necessary to make it a reality. For most people, becoming rich is their ultimate dream, as having a significant amount of wealth opens up numerous opportunities in life. If you're rich, you can drive whatever car you want, travel to any part of the world, and you never have to take orders from a boss again. However, becoming rich isn't easy, which is why just a small number of people ever accumulate enough money to live this dream lifestyle. Here are a few reasons why people never become rich. 1. They are scared of failure. Failure is an outcome, not an end product. People who do not realize this fact will always be scared of failure. Hence, they'll never break out of their comfort zones to try new things. Winston Churchill once said, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts." Poor people see failure as an excuse not to try new experiences, even if they think that this experience may lead to a life of financial bliss. They will say that it's too risky, that no one's ever done it before, or that they aren't sure if they have the skills to succeed, but in reality, they are just scared of how they will feel if they fail. But if you look at the people who have amassed unimaginable wealth, you will notice a trend. A lot of the world's richest people laughed in the face of failure and pursued their ideas. Take Jeff Bezos, for example. Today's world's richest man held many high-profile positions in major tech and investment companies in his 20s, but always felt like he was meant for something more. While holding a senior vice president role and making hundreds of thousands of dollars, Jeff decided to risk failure by leaving his secure job and starting a new book-selling business, which we all know today as Amazon. In fact, rich people see failure as part of the process towards becoming wealthy. As quoted by the author of the Harry Potter series, J.K. Rowling said, "It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all. In which case, you fail by default." Because of their fear of failure, poor people constantly make excuses not to try out new things or step out of their comfort zone. So if you constantly find yourself giving reasons not to start that new project that you've always wanted to do because you fear that you might fail, now is a good time to reconsider your choices, because it could be the next step in achieving all your wildest financial goals. 2. You won't get rich renting out your time. This is probably one of the absolute most important points. People seem to think that you can create wealth and make money through work. And it's probably not going to work. There are many reasons for that. But the most basic is just that your inputs are very closely tied to your outputs. In almost any salaried job, even at one that's paying a lot per hour like a lawyer or a doctor, you're still putting in the hours, and every hour you get paid. So, what that means is when you're sleeping, you're not earning. When you're retired, you're not earning. When you're on vacation, you're not earning, and you can't earn non-linearly. If you look at even doctors who get rich, like really rich, it's because they open a business. They open like a private practice. And that private practice builds a brand, and that brand attracts people. Or they build some kind of a medical device, or a procedure, or a process with an intellectual property. So essentially you're working for somebody else, and that person is taking on the risk, and has the accountability and the intellectual property and the brand. So they're just not going to pay you enough. They're going to pay you the bare minimum that they have to get you to do their job. And that can be a high bare minimum, but it's still not going to be true wealth where you're retired. Also, you're not creating that much for society. You're just doing things over and over. And you are essentially replaceable because you're now doing a set role. Most set roles can be taught. If they can be taught like in a school, then eventually you're going to be competing with someone who's got more recent knowledge, who's been taught and is coming in to replace you. You're much more likely to be doing a job that can be eventually replaced by a robot or by an AI. And it doesn't even have to be wholesale replaced overnight. It can be replaced a little bit at a time. And that kind of eats into your wealth creation and therefore your earning capability. So fundamentally, your inputs are matched to your outputs. You are replaceable and you're not being creative. 3. You don't hold yourself accountable. Poor people, or people who will never become rich, are people who never learn to take responsibility for their actions. They are always blaming someone or something else for the consequences of their actions. These people were probably those kids that wouldn't study for a test and blame the teacher when they received a failing grade. These same people are those who try to start a business, and when they can't seem to make sales, they will blame the economy or the government for their failure when they never made an effort to market their product or sharpen their sales skills. The harsh reality of life is that if you want something, you have to be ready to go get it yourself. Don't blame someone else, your life circumstances, the government, or any other external factor for why you aren't achieving the financial success you desire. Understand that you are in charge and it is all up to you. So, if the outcome of your choices doesn't turn out favorably, accept it as your mistake, learn, and move on from it. Don't be like the unsuccessful ones who find faults in everything else but themselves. We are humans and we're full of imperfections. Hence, mistakes are bound to happen, but owning these mistakes is what's important. 4. You quit too easily. To be focused and hardworking is one thing. To persevere, however, is an entirely different thing. Perseverance is persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. It is what keeps you going when you don't get the expected result you imagined you would at a particular period in time. For example, in the book, The Dip, written by Seth Godin, he explains that whenever you take on a new project, there is a period of stagnant growth, which is where most people quit. Godin says, at the beginning when you first start something, it's fun. Over the next few days and weeks, the rapid learning you experience keeps you going. Whatever your new thing is, it's easy to stay engaged in it. And then the dip happens. The dip is the long slog between starting and mastery. A long slog that's actually a shortcut because it gets you where you want to go faster than any other path. And, as you probably guessed, people who will never become rich lack the persistence and patience it takes to see something through until that something can grant them the financial rewards they desire. Someone who exemplifies the trait of persistence is author Tim Ferriss. The writer of the ultra-popular book, The 4-Hour Work Week, Tim was rejected 25 times when submitting this book for publication, but with consistent effort, he got the book published and is now worth about $100 million. Sadly, persistence is not a trait that those who will never be rich possess. They are masters at giving up, and giving up is a permanent failure. They do not understand that persistence will lead to scarcity.